We are live from the Library of Virginia, the alternative site, because we had the threat of rain on this Saturday the 16th as we celebrate the 200th anniversary of the Executive Mansion. And we want to welcome to the show Governor Bob McDonnell is here, along with the First Lady of the Commonwealth, Maureen McDonnell, is here as well. And the first question I have for you is, you know, a lot of people don't realize you actually live in the Executive Mansion. How's that 100-foot walk to work every morning?
It's a real treat. You know, it's 200 years old as of March 13th, and while the first floor is largely living area and museum, the upstairs is our home. And we've had our 5 children in and out of there over the last 3 years, and we're the 54th family to live there now in 200 years, and it's a real privilege when you think of the history that's gone on since the early days of the country.
When you think about that, do you take inspiration in how you govern from the men who have come before you in that great historic facility there, from the governors who have come before you, that you see images of around you there at the Executive Mansion?
You know, when you have a job that was first held by Thomas Jefferson and Patrick Henry, the first 2 governors of Virginia, and then people like Monroe and Barber after that, it's really a phenomenal privilege, and I count it that way every day. The mansion is adorned with some of the pictures of those great people, as well as others like Jefferson and Washington and others who obviously played a critical role in the foundations of the Republic. And we actually have things there like a table that belonged to Patrick Henry.
Oh,
and
my goodness.
things like that. So you are never far removed from the immense history of Virginia, which is the history of America.
Listen, I want to ask you, you started around Christmas time with decorating the mansion specifically for the holidays. Did you draw on the historic nature of the house itself in order to put together those 5 special trees that you did?
I have to say it's always a privilege to be able to live in the mansion, but it's such a unique privilege to be there when you're gearing up for the bicentennial. And so what I really wanted to focus on was trying to represent the 71 governors and first families that have lived there. What we did was, with each room on the first floor of the mansion, we tried to bring back a period that really represented the span of the 200 years at the mansion. And it has truly been one of the greatest history lessons of my life, being there and having that focus, you know, 24 hours a day, 24/7, and to really celebrate that in a way for the bicentennial. Last year, a year ago, this past Christmas, we focused on the 150th to gear up for the bicentennial, and this year we focused on representing the 200 years. And one of my most special rooms that we did for this bicentennial Christmas was the old governor's office, and there we represented all the governors that served in the military themselves, or any governors that were serving during conflict while they were governor. And it was one of the really, truly significant special rooms to just spend some time in. We still have a few of those mementos that we're representing now, so it's been a wonderful...
Not many people know, Governor, that was also the governor's office up until 1902, 1903, correct?
It was, yeah, from the foundations of the Republic or the mansion in 1813 to 1902. Governors had their office there, then moved to the Capitol, and then about 7 years ago now to the Patrick Henry building, where all the cabinet and the top administrators have their office. But it's still a functioning office. I still use it for business meetings from time to time.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, you actually, First Lady, have made some special improvements recently, including a garden and some other things that you've done to help to upgrade the Executive Mansion. Can you tell us about that?
One of the biggest things is right when I became First Lady was the fact that they had told myself and the 3 or 4 First Ladies before me that the floors were beyond repair, that they had been refinished as far as they could ever be refinished, and they had to be replaced, and that would have been a huge undertaking expense-wise and for the family. And I just didn't think that we'd be able to replace them that way. So the floors, I was able to stumble across a wonderful new technique that has preserved them for another 100 years. We have the same floors that were put in 1906 when the house was expanded. So that's been exciting. Then I put in a garden, but I also, on the edge of my garden, I added 10 wine vines.
Oh,
and
very nice.
That was
Virginia wines are becoming a big thing now,
Absolutely.
as if they weren't before, but even more so with a little publicity around the country.
Well, the First Lady gets so much credit for that. She has realized that since 1619, when the Act of the General Assembly was passed that required every male over 18 to have 10 wine vines grown as Act of the General Assembly. For 400 years, wine's been a big part of Virginia, but it's only been 30 years that we've had a big production. We're now the 5th largest wine-producing state, and the First Lady has literally traveled around the world championing Virginia wines. So we're excited. We're over 200 wineries now, some of the best wines in America, places like Barbersville and Trump Winery. It's a big deal, and it's big jobs, and it's big agriculture.
Maureen, may I ask you this? When you move into the White House in January 2017, do you have some plans for upgrading that people's house?
Don't take that.
I actually have no plans to move into the White House in 2017. I've really treasured these years to be as being First Lady of Virginia, and it's been something I never in my life dreamed that I'd have the opportunity to experience, and it was not part of the contract when I fell in love with her when we were 19 years old. But I do appreciate the people of Virginia giving us this privilege. And beyond that, Bob has been a great public servant. He's a wonderful statesman, and he's really all about serving the people.
And let's go to that portion of your life, because, you know, we're sitting here, two Alexandria guys who have made the most of what we had. You at Bishop Ireton in those days. Did you at any time at that point in your life really think you'd be the governor of the great Commonwealth of Virginia? Was that ever a target for you?
No, it really wasn't. I always liked math and science, and I was kind of a wonder of the natural world, so I always thought I would begin some sort of engineering or science degree. In fact, I started my time at Notre Dame in engineering, but you know, as I got a little older, my parents were both interested in politics. My mom was a poll worker, both for the other party, I might add.
Oh, okay.
And so they were really shocked when in the late 80s I announced to them that I was a Republican. So anyway, I'm incredibly privileged. Ran for office first time in 91. Never thought I'd have a shot, but knocked on a lot of doors, had a lot of friends, and God has been incredibly good to my wife and I, and given us this immense privilege to serve in the footsteps of Henry and Jefferson, and we try to work hard every day to honor the 8 million people of Virginia.
I know
He also plays the drums, and he's fascinated by weather.
You know, that's one of the only reasons I give the Commonwealth forecast before we go to the news at the bottom of every hour, because I know the governor listens to that.
That's right.
Before I ask you the two business questions that I would be remiss if I didn't, I want to focus on something I never had a chance to ask you, First Lady, about your involvement, your great involvement with Blue Star Families. Please tell us a little bit about your involvement and about your dedication of facilities around the Commonwealth dedicated to those fabulous families, the Blue Star families.
Well, thank you for asking. Yes, both our parents served. Bob started our marriage as a lieutenant in the U.S. Army Medical Service Corps, and then our daughter served in Iraq.
Janine, as part of the Army Signal Corps,
yes,
correct?
She followed in her dad's footsteps, went ROTC to college. And through all those years, it's always been a commitment in our family to always serve. Every military family does it on base. You always reach out to those in need when their spouse is deployed. And this has been something we've done throughout our marriage and with our family. So when I had this opportunity as First Lady, I really wanted to try to build a way that there are so many wonderful programs and facilities that are servicing our military families, but a lot of folks don't know about them. And one of my big heartbreaks is whenever there's a military member that processes out and then has trouble finding a job and their family is struggling. So I wanted to figure out a way to build an umbrella to connect these programs and wonderful people that are reaching out. There's over 3,000 of them in Virginia. I started with SOS, which is Serving Our Service Member Families, and that's a virtual site online that helps connect families and veterans with the services that the Commonwealth has. And then the wonderful story behind Fort Monroe, when I learned the base was closing, one of the first things I did was I asked my husband, what are they going to do with the buildings? Because in my mind's eye, I had a vision that I needed a one-stop shop to help connect everyone there's a wonderful group out in Roanoke called the Military Family Support Center. They inspired me and my idea, and I tried to build on that to build something that could really connect the whole state. And so we've just opened the first Freedom Support Center at Fort Monroe. We have a new one that will be opening in the next couple months in Petersburg, in the city of Petersburg, north of Fort Lee. And so what we're focusing on, we've got the Hampton Roads area, the Petersburg area. I still want to, I'm working with the folks out in Roanoke and in Southwest to start one there. And my final point of building a Freedom Support Center would be in Northern Virginia. It's been a wonderful public-private partnership. My husband's been excited about it. He supported me through it all, and we've worked out a way to build this into the state.
As a resident of Quantico myself,
I
know that the people there on base and who live off base absolutely appreciate your efforts for Blue Star families, because it isn't only parents of those who serve, it's spouses, it's children, it's everybody who's involved in supporting those who serve and who have served. So I can't thank you enough.
You know, Virginia's got 830,000 veterans, one of the highest per capita concentrations in the country. George Washington said something like this in his first inaugural address. He said, if you don't take care of the veterans that served in earlier wars, you're not going to recruit great people to serve in the wars that'll come tomorrow. You've got to take care of veterans. And so we're doing our little part, but this is a very military-friendly state, and we want to keep it that way.
Exactly. Now, let's go to the two pieces of business that I would be remiss if I didn't ask about. Do you have any tweaks, minor or major, for the transportation bill before you get to April 3rd?
Well, we're still reviewing it. Obviously, my job is to make sure that any legal or constitutional issues are addressed. Secondly, there are some technical issues that I know are going to have to be addressed. It's a 100-page bill that was put together pretty quickly. And then finally, there's some policy issues that have been brought to our attention that we're going to at least examine. So I have no final decisions made, but by the beginning of the following week, we'll have some announcements.
And finally, you know, we always give you a chance to speak your mind on the program. It's one of the benchmarks of John's show, and I would be remiss if I didn't ask you or give you the opportunity, pardon me, to explain to those within your own party the basics behind the fact that we identify a problem, we find a solution, and we fund it for those people who just can't wrap their heads around what this transportation bill means to the Commonwealth and its future.
Well, you know, the kind of conservatism that I believe in is results-oriented conservatism. Stick to your principles, announce what they are, but then fix problems, get stuff done. You know, we have across the Potomac, we have a lot of finger-pointing and pontificating, and we're $17 trillion in debt. We can't fix problems. We go from crisis to crisis. That's not what we want to do here in Virginia. We solve problems. We work with Republicans and Democrats to serve people. And one of the biggest problems left unsolved this session was transportation. Declining gas tax, the most congested place in America in Northern Virginia, 20th most congested in Hampton Roads, and no solution for 27 years. And I said, General Assembly, don't leave here until you fix it. So we found a solution with a lot of general fund use, some major reforms, using a lot of reductions in spending in the future to fund use general funds, and some revenue increases in a couple places. About $20 a year for the average citizen outside of Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads. So we're solving this problem, and it will mean better quality of life. It'll mean more jobs. It's already been rated credit positive. Our business rankings will go up. But at the end of the day, it means more people will have more access to the American dream because of great infrastructure, and they'll spend more time at their son's soccer game and their daughter's ballet recital than they will stuck in traffic, and that's a good thing.
Governor Bob McDonnell and the First Lady of the Commonwealth, Maureen McDonnell, I can't thank you enough for the time. This is a spectacular event as we celebrate the 200th anniversary of the Executive
we appreciate
Mansion.
the John Frederick Show and all the great work that you two are doing, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Governor. I appreciate it. And First Lady, Maureen, thank you again. We appreciate the time.